I say good night again. You know, this is the time when them change the, what you call it, the curfew to 11 o'clock. But them have curfews for another level in the city, different place. So the government play a kind of schizophrenic role where them have one curfew for people who now maintain the COVID thing, and the next curfew for the gunman them. May I tell you, it's a problem. It's a big problem in Jamaica. Anyway, we are continuing our journey of trying to bring the African people them to them senses. Because some of us so last, man, that we don't know. People are say, boy, Muta, you know, easy, you know. A years now you have this thing and the people them no wake, you know, they're not gonna wake up, man. But guess what? One cocoa full basket of that, them tell you, you know. And even though it might look a weird, true me know say things are work, me just go and do it. Because I have nothing else to do. I'm alive this. Would I like continue a conversation where we start about symbols and how symbols represent a whole heap of different levels of identification, and how nations and people use symbols for subliminally pass a message that put them at the forefront of history. You know, going to have, as you might have heard already, Minister Louis Farrakhan might be giving his last testimony and statement to the world on Saturday, the 4th of July, which is so-called American Independence Day. He will be giving a statement to the world. We're going to have one of his representatives here at 11 o'clock. At 11 o'clock, we will be talking to his representative and trying to get insight on what will be taking place. But we know that it has been advertised all over that Louis Farrakhan will be giving a speech. And it's a very important speech. Because, you know, the man is so rich all 90, you know. Him not look how he is still, but him look all like him nearly reach 90. I don't know if near 90 him there, but I know say him gone past 80 is long time. And I feel good for know say is a man where we know, yeah, we have been, where we say brethren, for years, we are brethren. We give thanks. If you know, so we know a man like that in my time, yeah, can come close to him and brethren with him. Yes, it's a great work him do for black people in America. A whole heap of youth, they dip on the road, and whole heap of sisters never have no place to call them own. And now when you see them, man, it's like it's almost it's a thing when Marcus Garvey did envision where he start to. Marcus Garvey did have that kind of manifestation in America. You know, in Harlem. Farrakhan have it in Chicago. And it spread all over the place till it all reach all over anywhere you go. So yes, it's a blessing. It's a great thing to understand that, yeah. We're living in a time when black people is rising to the occasion again. We have to say again because I tell you man, same time rise, same time fall. And that's how it go. But I don't know, fall down where I work with still, you know. Because the amount of fall down, we still get up. It's not the fall, you know, it's the getting up. You know, see, it is not the fall, it's the getting up. And we are confident in the victory of good over evil. So we not stop. We not stop. And we know, say, even though we might not hear Farrakhan on a big podium again, but we know say he might do the work out there. He might do the work. Yeah, man. He really had to do the work. So, as we are saying, 11 o'clock, we're going to have Farrakhan. We have a whole heap of Rolling Stone about the place, you know. We have create havoc. Because them Lego, them little droplets about the place, and them droplets, them gone, and them droplets get big and start to terrorize people. A serious terrorizing are going on in Jamaica, yeah. We have to watch the gunman and the politician them. The people them is caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. Terrible thing, terrible thing. So we see where Anglican, I don't know what it is, you know, but I'm going to repeat it still. It seems that they do something for years that almost destroy a people. Destroy them way of life. Destroy them spiritual consciousness. Destroy them humanity. And then you just say, boy, you're sorry. No, sir, not go so. Not go so. It have to be more than sorry. I'm going to say we. I refuse to accept this argument of, well, me say me sorry. Yes, without compensation. And when we look at the nations of the world, even to this day, and we always have to bring up the Jews. The Jews still hunt for Nazi all over the place. All the Nazi them hunt them and bring them to court. Still doing it. Them say, never again. Never again. And that is what we must be saying today as African people. Never again. Because if we don't wake up to what is taking place around us, even though them couldn't wipe we off of the earth, for how much years now them a try, both them and the Arabs. The Arabs, if you don't know, enslaved black people longer than white people. Africa don't have no friend. Africa don't have no friend. Because everybody come and step on, we allow it sometimes. We are saying that 400 years of history can't wipe it so easily. We can't wipe it so easily. And then just go on like nothing never happened. Because we love to pray. And we start to pray and pray and pray and hope that things will be better with our prayers. It not go so. If prayer did not work, it did work 2,000 years ago. And them trump up some story and give it. Stories them give it. They have nothing to do with our reality. Them take a peripheral historical situation in Africa and blow it up in a certain proportion and then twist it and turn it and do all sort of things with it and then throw it back at way. And we suck it down like we don't know it's a peripheral argument. It's not the core of African history or the core of what is happening in Africa was going on in Africa. It's peripheral arguments. All these stories about Israel in Egypt as slave and building pyramids, that is lie. No go so. I know you have black people all over the world now. We are talking about them a center and a focus on themselves as Israelites. Here people are say we are all Israelites scattered all over the world. Yeah, of course Israelites scattered all over the world, but I know every African is Israelite. I know every African is Israelite. Because we know that people was in South Africa, Southern Africa, Zimbabwe, in Ghana, Timbuktu, long before any nation were claimed to be the children of God, was moving to and fro. Long before there was Israelites, there was Ethiopians and Kemet people, Nubians and all these people. So when a group of people come and write a story, and we take it as a main theme for African history and African culture and African heritage, we are duped. That is why we can't get what we want and what we deserve, because we're so focused into a peripheral argument in time, where most of it was made up by the same people them who we confront now. Did you know that they had a little boy named Alexander the Greek? Them call him Alexander the Great. Alexander the Greek. Alexander the Greek was a teenager when them claim say him conquer the world. And you know when go conquer them say the world? Persia, round Mesopotamia they saw, and go right into Egypt. That time he must about 20-year-old. Well, that go on, you know. Yeah, man, imagine a 20-year-old youth, a leader army, and it's written down in history as conquering the world. Like say, China never exists. Like say, people never there at the west coast of Africa, and people never there at the southern and Africa. It's like when they have in America the World Series, and it's only Americans involved. Only Americans involved in the World Series, and them say the World Series. Presumptuousness of white people to feel say anytime them involved in something is the world. World War I and World War II. White people killing white people in Europe. That is what it is all about. So, we confront the argument of symbols and how symbols define our understanding and our perspective. And we know say, and we're going to say it again, symbols don't teach you about history. Symbols don't teach about history. Symbols reflect what a group of people want you to understand about their past. Who they put as an icon, and who they put, what buildings they put, and what monuments they put up. It represents their triumph. What they see it as triumph for them. They see it as triumph. So they put up symbols there to represent that triumph. They put icons there, who they recognize as icons. We as African people, none of those symbols represent us. As a matter of fact, it is more death and destruction when we view those symbols, when we recognize those symbols as ours too, not knowing that it is a part of the white supremacist control of the mind. You know, it's a mind control. It's a simple thing. So when we look now and we say, stories like Batman, Robin, when we look upon stories like Superman, Flash, all of these Transformers and all this, is a representation of white supremacy. It has nothing to do with we as African people. And most of it is not just fantasy or fiction. It is showing you the superiority of a group of people over other peoples. And if you don't recognize that something wrong, because what them do is put imaginary figures in real places. Why you understand what we are talking about? Them put imaginary figures in real places. So when you take up a comic, and when you go to a movie, you see them put on the screen Chicago 20 something like that, 900 2052, or them want to go back, them say Los Angeles in the 1940s, and them show you a fictional person, you know, and then you with your mind and your brains sup up those fictional characters in real places like a sponge. Like a sponge. And you know in yourself there was no Wonder Woman and no Superman. But those characters is placed in physical places that you can identify with. Like if you go to California and you see the Golden Gate Bridge, and you see James Bond a fight Grace Jones on the Golden Gate Bridge, a black woman as a villain and a white man a fight, you know, so well, it's really fiction, you know, but guess what? The Golden Gate Bridge is real. You see, it's a psychology of places, people and things that is embedded in our psyche. So even though we don't come out believing in Batman and, you know, James Bond, but it show you that a white man can do such great things and great work and is licensed to kill. James Bond and Batman, even though him can't fly, but him have things that make it look like him can't fly, and Spider-Man can't do this, but him, all of these figures is embedded in the subconscious. And then later on they put monuments and build places like Disneyland, Wonder World and all these places. And we get caught in the web of attraction. And we start to now look at the people who create these figures, because they write it down in books, and because they build monuments to those figures, and because they build statues to those figures, we start to believe in ourselves. So these people go through some serious things, because look how them fight for them this and them fight for them that. And see the statue for prove it there. See the monument for prove it there. When it's a lie. Because if you trace back to the places where them put these imaginary figures, and you all of these stories is centered around some reality. A man adapt a story based upon a certain reality, but him just spread it out and make it look very palatable to you when you're watching the movies. And we say that is what Europeans do continuously. It's like the whole world is a movie and everybody's supposed to play that part. But guess what? African people get left out of it, because African people is the consumer of the part. It consumed them, consumed, and are being consumed by the part that these people put up there. So when we look at a statue, we see the statue as iconic. And we say, yeah, you see this man here? Is this man here freeway, you know? Abraham Lincoln in freeway. He's a good black white man that. And look how them murder him though. Boy, may I tell you, they murder the man and the man knows him freeway. And then you have a man now where he must sing Amazing Grace. And him sing the song that was a matter of fact, we have a conversation, well, not a conversation, we have a talk about it today. Where a white man who used to have Africans are moved from the West Coast to this part of the world and turn them into slave. And him is getting converted to him so-called Christian belief system. And him start to repent by singing a song to soothe for him soul. He must sing a song for himself. He must write a poem for himself and use the melody of black people song. The melody, we don't talk about it today, the melody of the song is an African origin. The words is a slave master origin. And him use that, and even though him become a so-called Christian, he must still move in Africans because him realize that is a job. It's a job him have, and him not give up him job because him get a light from Damascus. I can't how Paul get it. But him continue until him stop. And black people, African people, in a this time, yeah, come up and stand up and sing the same song and put it upon themselves. That save a wretch like me. Think about it. It's like a Jew sing a Nazi song. How can a people be so downtrodden, use the ignorance to the point where their mind get enslaved rather than their body? Because after them fight for free them body, the greatest part of them, which is their mind, them thoughts and them action, was not freed. Because the man use things that even though he is not present, and that is what symbols are, or most symbols are, even though you are not present, but the sign represent your presence, and the sign direct you to a certain thinking. The sign direct you to a certain understanding of something that might not have been real. Might not have been real. Because when him twist and turn history, history become is. It's film history. You is just an onlooker. So when you read it, you want to identify with it. Not knowing, say, him did done carve it out as is already. And you did have something that him can't take out of you. But you prefer now to bring the watered down understanding of the peripheral thinking in your possession. You have this watered down thinking, this logics that you feel is a logical explanation to history and to belief systems and all that. And if you don't work in the confines of that logics, you consider yourself stupid, fool, idiot, don't know where you say, you can't reason, you don't have no intelligence and all these things. When you did give the world a whole heap of the things them, and the man come twist it and turn it and twist it and turn it, and you start to fight for where him twist, before you decide fight, before you go through the jungle and wave out and chop with the bush and see the beauty of the garden. We prefer to have a peripheral. I mean, I say peripheral because it's just upon the edge of reality. It's not the main course. It's not the main thing. It's not the main thing. And all the way, it's fighting over amazing grace that save a wretch like we. Amazing grace. That is one of the main hymns in churches amongst black people. And then him have we sing whiter than snow, Lord, watch me and make me whiter than snow. Though our sins might be like scarlet, it shall be white as snow. We internalize these symbols Because every time we say it, we picture it. That is the symbol where we are talking about. Which one of us can truly say, anytime we think upon the Bible figures, we think upon black people. Just say it's supposed to be taking place in Africa. Israel, the place of them call Palestine, is in Africa right there. Don't make nobody tell you no different. It's not no Middle East. It is in Africa. We're going to come forward, you know. We're going to come forward. I don't know if we must come forward. I just continue. I think like I want to continue, you know, but yeah, I'm going to continue. I'm going to continue. I'm going to continue. How is it that we cannot understand and see that there's something out there that was created from our mind and our history, and it was taken from us? It's not the main thing, you know. I'm not saying not the main course. It's not the main course. Yeah, so we don't want to say, well, this is African history. Because Africa is a continent with 50 different countries in it. And if people was in Ethiopia, people was also in Ghana and Morocco and the Congo and all these places. And China. And Africans was all over the place. People was all in these places. So we can say what we know now and what we adapt and what we internalize is African history, to the point where this was the main thing it was the main thing that happening because Europeans find themselves in a slave situation and look on that history, write the history and put themselves in it and make them become the icons of that history. So anytime you as an African person think about those history, you don't see yourself in it, because they don't put himself in it, just like when put Batman in a certain place, just like when put a cowboy in a Texas, just like when put a gunman in a Chicago, and it's not true. It's not true. Him all date it. Him date it. Give the man a look and say, this man come from that era, this man used to live that period of time, and I'm going to create a story around that man. And when you really check it, it's only the place it exists, but the man never exists. The time did exist when put the man in, but the man never exists. And you internalize that. So when you see it now, you can't, you don't even know South Africa. Because nobody now teach about Africa. Because you know about Africa, it's some white people are run up and down naked and them thing there. So if you know about Africa, so white people are run up and down and them thing there, how come you don't know about them people there more than what white people tell you? White people tell you some man used to run up and down in Africa. Me not say no man never used to run up and down in Africa. Because me know say Africa is a continent. But how you not learn about them people there? Where were those people? Where were the Bushmen? We're down in South Africa. Where were the Twa people? Where were the Tuareg people? The Dogons? Where were those people? We never know about them people there. But them people that didn't exist. Them didn't exist. But when you think about those kind of people, you don't think about white people in the story. You don't think about white people because white people never even touch the part there. Or if them touch a part there, them forget about the part there, kill the people them and turn them in some slave and carry them go away. So them capture a set of people. Them capture a group, a place. Put themselves in it. And write about it. And you who did dead can't see yourself in it. Because the stories are twisted and turned, and battered and bruised. That when you think about the story, you think about them. And because them twist the story, it don't have no sense again, you know. But because it, look, logical, you just accept it. Why we accepting these things over the years? Why our grandmother, our great grandmother never have the knowledge and the information that we have now? Why is it that we continue to perpetuate the same illusions and fantasies that them teach our grandparents and our great-grandparents? That some of them, don't get me wrong, some of them did fight for that, fight for the liberation and freedom, not only of themselves, but of their mind. Of their mind. Right now we get docile to a point now that we don't even have no mind. We do have no mind. And African people is living out a lie. What lie them living out? Them living out a lie say, there is a story that is beneficial to their being on earth. And if them don't see that story, them is doomed. And then people will take that story and show you, say, but it's your story. Which part of it is my story? When I know, say, Batman never exists. When I know, say, Flash never exists. And if a man can create Flash and say, you know, say, Flash take a plane and come to Jamaica, they're going to say, wow. Them include Jamaica in a Flash, just like James Bond. You know, say James Bond, the first James Bond movie was placed in Jamaica. Right on Rockford Road there. Before you'd have cement factory. The road used to run behind cement factory for go to airport. History. We know that. But there was no James Bond. Because a man find about a next man, Ian Fleming, find a next man will represent James Bond and create a James Bond out of the man where him did know. Him create a James Bond out of the man where him did know and him become a millionaire that him have an airport name after him, Ian Fleming Airport. And him create a man out of a next man and put him in a place that really exists to the years after now. That man who used to act the first James Bond stop act it and them get about 3 or 4 man for act the same man will never exist, where them put in a place where exists and him still living. How you going to think about James Bond separate now from the places where him put him? Because every place where him put him exists. Airport exists in Jamaica. The Palisades Road and near Palisades Road again, but it did exist. We know that it exists because people who live in know that it exists. But you tell a youth about James Bond, you might go ask if James Bond was a real man. And you tell him, say, boy, some are going to tell him, say, boy, I don't know, you know. I don't know, but I see him, I go a movie and I see him on Palisades Road, a fight, and I see him there, a certain place where him know. Where him know personally exists. I wonder if you see what I say. I wonder if you realize what I tell you. I tell you, say, history, the person who write history, control your present and future actions. And if you don't wake up to this, that if you don't control your historical reference point, you will always be looking from the point of view of the person who write the history and give you it and say, this is how it go. This is how it go. So every time you hear history, you have to look in at some book where the man who control write. Where is your writing? We have writings, but how much are we going to read it? How much are we going to read it? You have some people who love history, but them not going to really go into history. Because history is what make it there so now. A whole heap of what we don't know was decided by what took place in history. But it's really serious when a group of people can place certain things in history will never exist. And years after, they make people come believe it. And fight for it. And even die for it. Yeah, man. You have things where black people were dead for. Where him believes in a history. And it never did there. Because the man who write it knows it never did there. The man who perpetuate the story knows that he make it up. And him put things in there where him don't even know about. But because him conquer and conquer and to conquer, him direct the course of history and put up all of these symbols that continue the lie. The symbols continue the lie.